Chip Carter's Tailgate Sunday is brought to you by your Southern Ford dealers. Go further with Ford.
And the Bucs return home for a key division game. Carolina Panthers bring their undefeated record to Raymond James Stadium. Bucs look to finish the season's first quarter with a home win, something they haven't had since December of 2013. Game right here on Fox 13 at 1 o'clock. And good morning and welcome to the Southern Ford Dealers Tailgate Sunday. I'm Kevin O'Donnell in for Chip Carter, who's taking an early bye weekend. And as always, joining us this morning, Ricky Reynolds, who never needs any time off, right, Ricky?
Not at all.
No,
you know, but every now and then you need a little break.
A little rest and recovery, right?
That's right.
Well, Ricky, before we get started, we had a week to digest what went on in Houston. Lovie Smith says it's just one game in a season full of games. Can you tell what kind of team the Bucs are becoming yet, or is it still just a little bit too early, week 3?
It's still a little bit too early. I mean, there's a lot of inconsistencies, throughout the season. You have a little bit of the offense playing good. Sometimes, they're up and down like a roller coaster. Same thing with the defense. 1 week they're coming out stuffing the run. The next week they're getting run on, So it's a lot of inconsistencies. We want to see if this team can level out and be consistent in certain types of areas to know exactly what they're all about.
Win a home game and at least maybe 2 in a row would be a start, right?
Yeah, it's very important to win at home.
Yes. Well, all right, time to crank up our Gold and Diamond Source game time elements, and time for us to give you 3 things to look forward to today between the Bucs and Panthers. Now, how about this?
It's Game Time is brought to you by the Gold and Diamond Source. Always make it a Gold and Diamond Source diamond.
And Ricky, everyone thought against the Texans Doug Martin would break out. Didn't happen. Martin rushed for his lowest total of the season, yet Carolina is one team that Martin loves to play against, averaging 85 yards per game. Which running back do you expect we're going to see today?
Well, I'm sure he's going to go out there. He's going to compete and do a great time. But this Panthers rush defense is great. They're only averaging, giving up 75 yards a game. So it's a tough team to run against. I think Martin, if he's able to have the holes there, he'll do fine.
Yeah, and I think they really weren't given that situation against Houston because the Texans, it looked like their priority number 1 was just to stop the run and try to let Jameis beat them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do with a rookie quarterback. You go up there and you stuff that run and put all the weight on his shoulders, and that's what they were able to do is go in there and key on Martin, and contain him, and that allowed them to just focus on Jameis and make him make the plays.
Now, sticking with the running game, but on the other side of the ball, Ricky, no one had to see this. Alfred Blue gashing the Bucs for 139 yards. Panthers saw this, and they're going to give the Bucs defense a steady diet of runs. Ricky, is there a cause for concern with the run defense so far?
There is a cause for concern. I mean, you have a team like Houston who wasn't running the ball well, and they had a kind of a makeshift line, last week where they had a lot of injuries and a lot of guys filling holes, able to come in here and run the ball as they did. Now you have the team in Carolina who runs the ball well. I mean, they're averaging, I believe 132 yards a game. These guys are, they're going to be tough.
That leads me to this, containing Cam Newton. Remember, the Bucs did not face Newton last season. Week 1, he was nursing a rib injury. Week 15, recovering from a car accident. Still, containing Cam always seems to be a main focus for the Bucs defense. But Ricky, he always seems to play his best games against the Bucs. He's 4-2, just 2 losses in 2012.
Yes, he's very dangerous. He plays, very well against us, and he's tough to contain. He's able to, run. He's big, strong, physical, and when he does run, he's able to stop and see receivers down the field and make great plays with his arm as well. So he's going to be one to contend with on today.
I know Gerald McCoy is singing his praises this week, and I think that seems a little scared about it, so we're about to see. Very few sports can turn a hero into a GOAT quicker than football. Last week, kicker Kyle Brenza kicks the second longest field goal in Buccaneer history, and then just 7 minutes later, misses an extra point, misses 3 other field goals in the game. Some thought the Bucs would bring another kicker in or kickers this week to try out, but Lovie Smith instead just had a good talk with Brenza, a talk that Lovie hopes turns things around.
We went over the obvious. The obvious is didn't have a good day. Good players can have a bad day. That's how I started the conversation. You're a good kicker, and but when you don't have a a good day and you're a good kicker, you have to really search. And we had to figure out exactly why that happened.
And Ricky, that's exactly what you said last week with Chip on the post-game show. It's not just the coaches that have to build up Brinza, his confidence. It's got to be the players, the rest of the team around him to kind of get him out of his little funk, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely get support from your teammates, you know, and once they're kind of believing in you, you have to believe in yourself as well. You know, you have to have confidence within yourself in order to go out there and to perform. But it makes it that much more tougher if your teammates are getting on you about it and, you know, really criticizing you about those misses. So these guys are going to support it, rally around them, and hopefully has a much better day.
A quick kicker certainly can have a little fragile state of mind if they're having some misses under their belt. Well, Jameis Winston has already lost more games in 3 weeks than he lost during his entire college career, but he isn't getting dejected with these defeats. Winston is learning from those losses, and the fans just need to be patient as he is. It's been a roller coaster ride for Jameis Winston in his first 3 games. Expected highs and lows for an NFL rookie. Winston failed to put back-to-back wins together, but his coaches are finding small victories within his game.
Jameis did a great job of getting the ball out on time in this game, a great job.
The protection Winston is getting is helping him better protect the football. After 2 interceptions in the opener, Winston has thrown just 1 INT in his last 2 games.
We have a good offensive line, and now, you know, people can finally see that because, hey, against the best NFL defensive line probably in the NFL, they produce, no sacks.
The area of his game where Winston needs to make the greatest improvement is keeping drives alive, converting on 3rd down. Only Kansas City is worse. But the blame isn't solely on Winston. Mike Evans had his share of too many drops.
I played terrible. This team needs better from me, and I will be better.
I'm not one of those guys that's sitting there beating the drum over catch the damn ball. I mean, that's just not – you think those guys don't know that? We're not going to beat them up. We're not going to say quit doing it. I mean, it's just we got to catch the ball.
Jameis Winston continues to be the guy under the microscope every week. The expectations on him are astronomical. And while he is making progress, offensive coordinator Dirk Cutter tells us we are a long way away from seeing how good Winston can be.
Aaron Rodgers sat on the bench for 4 years. Okay, so you guys are wanting Jameis to do it in week 4 of his rookie year.
Winston's work continues, but at least he's making strides. And coming up next on our Southern Ford Dealers Tailgate Sunday, we'll give you the injury report like other teams around the league. The Bucs are dealing with a few injuries. You get that coming up next. Plus, 3 weeks in, 3 entirely different games. It's been a roller coaster start for the Bucs. Our Marissa Lynn checks in with the team, see how they're handling the ups and downs of the season.
This week's Tailgate Sunday Injury Report is sponsored by Florida Hospital.
Now, a couple of key players on this week's Florida Hospital Injury Report. One name really kind of came out of nowhere. Donovan Smith apparently suffers a knee injury during the Texans game. He returned to practice on Thursday, was limited, but was a full go on Friday, so we expect him to start today. There's another big name on our Florida Hospital Injury Report also. How about Gerald McCoy? Played in pain after hurting his shoulder in week 2. He was shuttled in and out of the lineup against Houston and wasn't on the field really when they needed him down the stretch. Lovie Smith tells us why he was playing.
He was definitely limited, but we knew going in, but a lot of players are limited too. Gerald played hard right up until the end, but no doubt he was playing with pain. He wasn't playing with injury, though. He was playing with pain, but and I just know that, you know, another week should put him in even a better place.
Now, across the league last week, no doubt the biggest injury was to Steeler quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, who was tackled low by former Buck Mark Barron. It wasn't a vicious hit, but one that knocked Big Ben out of the game. The Steelers quarterback has a strained MCL along with a bone bruise and should be out close to 8 weeks. Today in our Florida Hospital Injury Report, our Dr. Joe gives us the details of just what is a strained MCL.
Good morning. We're going to start out with a little knee anatomy. This is a right knee, but what I want to show you is a lot of people hear about ACLs, anterior cruciate ligaments. Well, that's inside the knee, and then there's the PCL, which is behind it, and they're called cruciate because it's kind of like crucifix. It makes a cross inside the middle of the knee, but that's not what happened to Ben. What happened was he had an injury on the medial collateral ligament. So think about this. Here's how the knee is. If you get hit this way, your knee bends this way. It stretches this ligament. There can be tiny tears, of course, there can be inflammation, and there needs to be some time to heal. Now, treatment, of course, time is the tincture of time is going to help, but you can also do other things. Icing, certainly, you want to decrease that edema, and we're going to slowly see that rehab process taking place, especially for that MCL, because definitely what you don't want to do is you don't want it to heal short, as we know, and you also want to make sure that that knee is not too lax. So hopefully we'll see him recover very shortly. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Dr. Joe. And for a young team, often the most difficult part of adjusting to the NFL life is the mental grind of the league. Week in and week out, the emotional roller coaster of winning and losing can take its toll. Marissa Lynn checks in with the Bucs to find out how they're handling the bumpy ride of this season.
It's already been a season of lows and highs for the Buccaneers. 2015 began with an ugly loss to the Titans, but Week 2 brought back hope when the Bucs secured a division win against the Saints at the Superdome. Then last Sunday against the Texans, mistakes in all phases humbled this team once again.
And then it was devastating, it's disappointing, let my team down, and just got to be able to get back out there and do my job.
I put this on me. You know, it was a lot of plays I should have made on third downs that I didn't come up with.
There's enough blame to go around, but nobody is pointing fingers. Instead, this young Bucs squad rallies around each other.
We just want to win. We want to win and want to get better and win some games, man, so we can smile after the games, you know?
3 games into his NFL career, Jameis Winston has experienced the peaks and valleys of being a pro.
The way my mind works, I don't focus on wins and losses, man. You know, of course I want to win games, you know, but it's about this team development. And I know when we start gelling and everything start clicking right, I know we're gonna have some success.
The 2015 Bucs have already tasted success in the bite of defeat. Sometimes the emotional roller coaster isn't easy to digest.
It's tough, but you know you got to be strong-minded. You know, it comes with the business. You know, you're not going to always be on top, and you're not always going to be on the bottom. So, you know, you just got to look at each day as a new day and get better each day and put the other day behind you.
One day at a time, one game at a time. As cliche as it is, this is how they'll need to practice and play in order to continue distancing themselves from the team that finished 2-14 last season.
No matter what happens, every opportunity to get back on the field is a privilege. So that's how you have to look at it. And then, you know, no matter what happened a week before, you have the opportunity to make up for it this upcoming week.
Each week, all 32 NFL teams get that same opportunity. The Bucs choose to use it only one way.
Keep moving forward.
3 words that describe how this team sieges each day. With the Bucs, Marissa Lynn, Fox 13 Sports.
All right, coming up next, the A-Train will make his final stop at Raymond James Stadium this afternoon. Mike Alstott joins other Buccaneer legends in the Ring of Honor. We'll hear from Alstott coming up. And it's time for our second round of our Tailgate Challenge. 3 Buccaneer players playing for a very prestigious Silver Sword Award. Some interesting question this week. You'll get it next on the Southern Ford Dealers Tailgate Sunday.
Everyone has a fantasy. It's time for the Hooters Fantasy Players of the Week.
And if you had any Buccaneer players on your fantasy roster last week, chances are you've been searching the waiver wire this week. The highest scoring Buc player offensively is Charles Sims, thanks to his big part in his 32-yard touchdown reception. Inside tip here, look for Kyle Brinza to bounce back and have a huge game today. He better, because I had him on my team last week. It was rough. Well, try these numbers on for size. Mike Alstott played in 10 postseason games with Tampa Bay. In those 10 games, Alstott scored 7 touchdowns, including scoring the first touchdown in Super Bowl 37. Now, fans always turned out to watch Alstott run, and today those fans will see the A-Train make one more stop, this time in the Bucs Ring of Honor. Now, this year, the Bucs will honor 2 players for the first time. Alstott is first up, and then Doug Williams will join the A-Train later in the year. Both will have their days. It's a well-deserved honor for Allstott, who spent his entire 12-year career in a Bucs uniform. The 6-time Pro Bowler scored 71 touchdowns, which still stands as the most in team history, and he did it as a fullback. And it's fair to say that Allstott is the last true fullback in the NFL, but he tells us while honored, he didn't expect this.
I don't care what people say, any circumstance in the world that wouldn't change my occupation. And I lived it. It was a dream each and every day when I went to that office, to be with my teammates and be able to inspire and make plays on the field.
And Ricky, you never got to fortunately run into the A train on the field, but what did you think of him?
I didn't want to run into him.
You didn't want to run into him. When you played with the Patriots from the distance, looking at Allstott and what he was able to do here.
Oh man, he was something special. You know, I mean, he's a big physical type, bruising, running back, and a guy that could really, run the games out. At the end of the game, he would wear defensives down, and he was a great player, and he was there during the time when the team was very successful, and he was a good reason for it.
Fair to say that he was a tailback in a fullback's body?
Exactly what he was. He was definitely a tailback in a fullback's body.
Yeah, I know the fans miss him. Well, it's time to crank up the pressure for round 2 of the Tailgate Challenge. I admit I kind of threw some softballs to the guys just to warm them up in week 1. Gerald McCoy, DeMar Dotson, and Donovan Smith all came through and are tied at 1 apiece. Now let's see how well they know their college connections. All right, second one, number 2. Round 2, name another Buccaneer that came from Southern Miss.
That's on team right now?
No, just the all-time roster on the Bucs roster. Anybody that came from Southern Miss played for the Bucs on their 53-man roster during the regular season.
But Favre would never hear, huh?
No, almost. Favre almost came here. Name a Buccaneer, any other Buccaneer player, other than Leroy Selman and yourself, that played at Oklahoma.
Here, never just.
Bingo. You went with the easy one. There's a lot of them on this list. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. How long has it been since a Bucs drafted a player from Penn State, not counting you? In the 2000s, 90s, or in the 80s? It's been a long time. 2006-07. 2007 is the last player from Southern Miss. Penn State.
80s.
That far back. No one's been drafted since then.
Yeah, 80s.
No, in the 2000s, Alan Zamitis, cornerback, 2006.
What was I, in middle school?
Southern Miss 2007. I have no idea.
Linebacker? Gonna pass on that one.
I'll pass on that idea.
Antoine Cash? Sidney Coleman? Linebacker, that was in the 88, 89, 90. Maurice Oliver?
All these people here?
And Norris Thomas. There's a lot of old-timers. You're the only fresh guy from Southern Miss.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Have to work on that.
I do.
Needs to get in that media guide. Okay, it's never easy. 17 weeks, 16 games where nothing is same week to week, so Ricky has the challenge. What will be his key to the game? Last week it was tackle better, and the Bucs obviously did that. They listened to him. So this week, what is the key? What inside nugget will Ricky deliver? We're looking for a stunner. Ricky's digging deep to tell us what the Bucs are going to do to beat Carolina. You got it next on the Southern Forward Dealers Tailgate Sunday.
Now, keys to the game, brought to you by your local Southern Ford dealers.
Okay, Ricky, this could be a turning point for the Bucs, a signature win if they can beat the undefeated Carolina Panthers. What's the key to beating these Cats?
Well, we talked about it already earlier. Part of this show is containing Cam Newton. I mean, he's the big key in this game. This guy has really been historically been a big threat to this team. I mean, he beats them year in and year out every time he's on the field. But anyway, he beats you with his legs. I mean, he really can run well. He's big, strong, physical. He actually will get out of the pocket, and he can throw down the field and make plays that way as well. So containing Cam Newton is a big key.
Totally agree with you. We're on the same page. Biggest key, if you hadn't said it, I think I would have. So now I got to find a crack in Carolina's defense for the Bucs to attack. My key is handling the Panthers, their first loss of the season. Doug Martin, in his only 2 victories against Cam-led Carolina team, well, Martin touched the ball 28 times, cracking 100 yards total in both games. So that's it. Get Martin his touches, and 28 is the magic number. But Ricky, I really believe the Bucs need both of these keys to come true for a win at Ray J today. Well, that's it for this week's Southern Ford Tailgate Sunday. The Bucs and Panthers are coming up at 1 o'clock, and it's a Fox doubleheader. 4:25, the Packers at San Francisco. For Ricky Reynolds, I'm Kevin O'Donnell. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you right back here next week. Thanks for joining us.
Brought to you by your local Southern Ford dealers. Go further with Ford.